Okay, chronic mystery illnesses and why we need to get menopause on the list. Okay, first of all, what is a chronic mystery illness? So this is essentially that we know what these diseases are, we've identified them. However, their course of treatment is not always the same and everybody doesn't respond the same to these. Okay, so one of the things on the list is Lyme's disease. Okay, so one of the things on the list is Lyme's disease. We know what Lyme's disease is. We know where it comes from, but people's response to conventional medicine, it's all different. Things on the list is Lyme's disease. We know what Lyme's disease is. We know where it comes from, but people's response to conventional medicine, it's all different. Hashimoto's is also on there. We know that that's an irregularity of the thyroid. But again, everyone's course of treatment is slightly different. So there's all of these mystery illnesses that, chronic mystery illnesses that the medical community has kind of identified that they don't have just one course of treatment for it, okay? Now, we need to add menopause into that as well. And I have been serving women for more than 30 years. That's more than half of my life. Thousands and thousands of women. I have heard every single story that they have ever told me, right? I was their hairdresser. They told me everything about pregnant, menopause. I heard about every single night sweat, and I've heard every single story about tossing and turning and, the muffin top and all of those things. I heard every story. However, when it did finally happen to me at 48, when I think that I was having symptoms before that, but of course I didn't know what to look for because no one ever educates us on this stuff. So by the time I was in severe symptoms, I was 48, and it started with having to go to the doctor every month because I had a bladder infection. And she says, there's so many side effects with hormones. She goes, I'm not going to prescribe you any. She goes, what you actually need is, she says, you need a Paxil because you're having an issue with going through what you're going through. And I thought, well, God, that doesn't sound right at all. And when I shared that with my friend, who was like 10 years older than me, she said, oh yeah, she goes, that's the same thing that they told me. So she goes, that's the route I took. I'm like, the route you took? Like, why would you take that? That's like not even the two of the same things. Like, I couldn't understand that was the medical advice. And then, I said, well, there's clearly some things going on. She said, well, clearly you're having an issue with going through what your body's supposed to go through normally. And I'm thinking, is this really normal? Like a bladder infection every month? And that was the start of it. And there were just parts that no one ever talked about until now. When I ask certain questions to my clients, then they say, oh yeah, that's happening to me. But when I tell you it is like an out-of-body experience, it's an out-of-body experience. I was experiencing anxiety like I had never experienced before in my life. And I have had some pretty traumatic things that has happened to me. And I have to be on anxiety pill all the time now. It was unreal. It was almost like a paranoia kind of anxiety that kind of came over me. And fatigue, like chronic fatigue. I would work out and sometimes I would get muscle spasms and it would just wake me up in the middle of the night. And, I was like, do I have MS? Like, what is happening? This is the stuff that no one ever talks about, And so this was even with being on, extra hormone replacement and things like that. I was still having all of these other side effects. So at that point I was like, I don't even care about this weight, but we got to figure out what other stuff is going on. In the fitness community, they just say, eat more or eat less, exercise more, good job, keep going. It's like, everything is just like a false narrative that's or surrounds menopause. Menopause just needs to be in its own category. Us women, we need to be in our own category. There is nobody that understands us better than us. I mean, the stuff is, your stress is tied into it. And if it feels like your stress has shifted in the past couple of years, it has, okay? I moved when I was going through all of, my menopause journey, but the stress was almost debilitating sometimes. And I just was like, I just gotta power through. I just gotta power through, and I just gotta power through. And I just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And I kept feeling more fatigued, and I kept feeling more sleepless nights. And so this is all of that stuff that, again, the communities are not talking about. Even when I went to go find, I finally found a GYN that would listen to me. I was already using a urogynecologist at that point because my symptoms were so severe. And when I went in that day, she said, I'm not gonna, whatever he's doing, he's the best. And whatever he says, I'm just gonna agree with him. Is that the right thing? Like, I feel like, okay, he has his department, and that's all cool, and they have their department, and that's all cool, but it would be really nice if we could just have everyone talking to everyone so that we're not hopping around trying to grasp all of this information. And this is what I did for 2 years. And I just sat through all of this, and I thought, my gosh, there's all of this stuff that no one is talking about. And when your hormones shift, it is all of them. It is all of them. It is your melatonin. Yeah, it's your sleep. It is your serotonin. It is your dopamine. It is all of the things. And I mean, I've laughed about this in videos in the past where I'm like, what's that teenage movie, like, hi God, it's me, Margaret, right? Like, my body's going through puberty and it's like making all of these changes, and it's that exact same thing, but you're 50. You are going through all these changes. And I'm telling you, I just wasn't prepared. And I never even had a one hormone issue in my entire life. Every single one of my cycles were normal. I had 2 perfect pregnancies. I worked right up till the day I delivered. I came back to work after 6 or 8 weeks. Like, I never had a hormone issue. So I just wasn't prepared for this wicked ride. And now that I'm on the other side, I can just see how much confusion that there is, and women are just running here and there. Well, this, I'm grasping this here and that there, and no, this is separate from that, and I'll deal with that later. No. That's not how it works. Everything, you gotta get tied in together. You have got to work on all of your hormones in a balance. If you don't start controlling things like your stress and your anxiety, and I know that anxiety is like all sorts of different things, and is simple things of just chronologically putting your to-do list in an order. Like, that is like the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, managing stress and anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I have to do all of this stuff. Because this is, I mean, the weight of that, when you get to this age and you're going through this journey, it just feels so much worse. And I have clients that still have teenagers at home, and I do not know how they do it, because I had to do this, I moved, but I was doing this by myself. And it was really easy for me to just okay, I see. So once I started minimizing my stress, I started creating a routine here. I started, tying in what I studied over there with what that client told me 20 years ago. I mean, and this is how I got there. And I just have started putting all these pieces together, and that's what started just to, everything just unlocked for me. And I was able just to take off 30 pounds. And all of my symptoms are gone. I'm actually gonna go to the doctor next month. I have an appointment in June, and I'm gonna talk to her about starting to minimize some of the hormones that I had to take because my symptoms were so bad. And, I think that this is, we gotta get so that we can help our doctors help us manage our symptoms. And yes, I'm all for, if you need help and support and all of those things, and I'm talking about medically or, medication wise, but the more you can help that process along, the better the mystery part will start to unlock for you, because you know yourself better than any other doctor. And that was why when that doctor told me that the course of treatment was at Paxil, I already knew what Paxil was going to do to me, and I was like, there's no way I'm getting on that, because there's no way I'm getting off of it, and that's just not what I wanted. And so again, you got to know enough so that you can advocate for yourself. And whatever you're feeling, I promise you, it's all tied in together, and nobody understands us like we understand us. I mean, 30 years, I never anticipated. And when I look at women that I just thought they had a nervous breakdown when they were 50, I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. I totally get that, because I feel like I was on the verge of a breakdown going through all of this. I mean, this is how profound that these symptoms can be. And if you're just going through it and you're just powering through it, you are not doing yourself any kind of justice. But if you just start to look outside, your plate and control and all of that, and just start thinking about other hormones that you feel have been shifted. For me, it was definitely my serotonin and my dopamine. I mean, it's crazy. So when I started to, because I took a deep dive into all this hormone stuff when I just couldn't believe that this is how my body was going to react. So in this deep dive, that's when I was like, okay, I got to start putting more stuff together. So now, even when I lost the 30 pounds and I went into my doctor and she goes, your blood work says XYZ. And she said, I want you to, your low cholesterol is like a 0.2 low, and we want you to increase your fats. And I thought to myself, I want to increase my fats. I feel good. I look good. I know why I just lost 30 pounds. And it was because, I was purposefully, intentionally lowering my calories, controlling my stress, all of those things. So that's how I know that I had this weight loss. The blood work thing, it's one snapshot within a day. Am I going to change my complete diet now because my doctor says 1 point is off something? No, I said no. I feel good, I look good, I'm sleeping well. That's it. At some point, you got to know yourself well enough, and that is what this journey, if you want to call it that, is about. And for now, I think we need to stay on the mystery chronic illness. But until then, just whatever you are experiencing, I promise you it is tied in, and you do have the power to unravel it and to just find a little bit of balance in your life. So I hope that helps, and I'll catch you soon.